I have the hand car and the train tracks here because a lot of the Pokemon that I wanted to move up into the spaceship, they couldn't really float or fly, and so I needed a way to get them up there. So let's go ahead and start here. Eventually, I'm gonna take this down because I want to basically make it floating and everything. This is the hangar area. So this is essentially where I've really built and have all my resources here. There are a couple dozen storage things that are full of everything. In the Star Trek show, Deep Space Nine, essentially they have a more mechanical area where they fix certain things, and I kind of wanted that to be represented here. So I have cones here, I have like control panels, a lot of things are painted a certain color, different kind of more construction, different materials that I have here, and this goes all the way up here with some electricity that's powering a certain number of things. I actually like the fact that I have these furnaces here. This is the beginning. This is like this is what I first built here, basically to have like a home base of where am I going to build all this stuff. I have different random items that I've used, a whole bunch of resources here for this kind of hangar area, and then eventually I might move Blaziken and some others in a different space, but this is where we have things for now. So this is the second area that really the biggest area. The first thing I built was this kitchen area. So a little background, in the show Deep Space Nine, there is a big area, kind of a communal area called Quark's bar. It's kind of one of the main central places of the show. And so I wanted to replicate something like that. It has like a bar, it has a lot of games, it has like, it's the place where everything is happening. It's a little bit like Dave and Buster's to some extent. First, let's go ahead and do the tour of the kitchen, do a quick tour of the kitchen. And if you want to see like the mini builds for what I did, they're on my channel in like the playlist mini builds. Here we have these lights here. This is basically Chef Dente and DJ Rotom live here. And then this we opened here. This is where we have a party pot as well, have a couple more refrigerators. This opens out to the main area here. We also have a break room basically with TV, newspaper, all that kind of stuff here. So this is the kitchen build. Okay, so you come back out here. And so I relocated the Pokemart as well as the Pokemon Center here. And so this is an area, basically it's a huge kind of arcade gaming area here, very much how it was in the show. In the show, they had this thing called Dabo tables. Basically, it's like everybody comes here and plays different games and gambles. This is not really gambling here, but I wanted to kind of get that same essence of everybody's here playing different games. Over here was a separate area. I just want to have a separate area. So basically all the gaming PCs. And then this is more of like a kind of a restaurant concert area that I wanted to make sure that we had here. So this is more of the kind of VIP area. If I was to do anything different, I may change these blocks to make it a little more appropriate. But up here we have the guitars, both Toxtricity forms live here, as well as Wigglytuff. I think Jigglypuff also lives here. This is of course the concert stage. I changed a few things, but not much. We can go here. Of course you got vending machines here if you want. Here is actually a kind of like a karaoke area that I wanted to do. Here you have the Pikachu couch. I painted this couch yellow, almost like a karaoke booth. In here, I wanted to do almost like, I don't know if they still do it, but back in the day, they used to have these things called photo booths where you can come in, sit down, and you could take a picture. So that's what I did here. Oh, we can show the infirmary as well as the security office. So another big part of Deep Space Nine, I'm gonna basically call it Deep Space Nine, but basically just remember it's like a Star Trek show. Another big part of this was what we call the infirmary. This is kind of essentially a hospital. We have first aid kits, we have the bell. If you have ever seen a show, I don't know if they do this in real life, ever seen a TV show where in case someone gets like a good diagnosis, they ring the bell. I need to fix the electricity for this thing, but in case they get a good diagnosis, or they say that the cancer goes into remission, they ring the bell. And so I wanted to kind of have that theme here. You have a bunch of lights here as well as the electricity. I need to find a better way to hide them. I wish they had transmitters that were as small as the surface lights. That would be really great if they ever did that, because sometimes it's very hard to try to hide these different transmitters. This is kind of the reception desk for the hospital. Of course, we have here where they're kind of going, a whiteboard here, and then also kind of a resting area as well as the first aid kit that is behind here to have a certain level of partition and privacy. We come out here. This is essentially the security office. In the show, they had this character called Odo. Odo was basically the security officer and this was he basically was watching everything from his office. I have the Wobbuffet things. You come in here, and this is kind of basically the security area. I have Smeargle living here as like the sketch artist. We have here all of the different pictures of what people are doing, so they have their surveillance happening. Because Pokopia did not have donuts, I just put cookies here. Polyrath essentially represents that character from Star Trek. We got these kind of this water pillar here. So yeah, so that's the security office, and that is essentially the first floor. What we can do is we can go to the second floor, and then I can show you what we did on the second floor, where the idea was having another floor where you can eat and do and still watch like the concert and be kind of in the mix from up here. So here we have, of course, like a lot of different play sets here with space to enjoy themselves without being all in the mix of everything down there. So we go up here, and it's basically the same thing where we have different play sets and where people can be up here and eat. You have the vending machines and everything. What I want to do is I want to stop here first to explain holosuites. In the show and in Quark's bar, they used to have these things called holosuites. Holosuites are basically virtual reality. You go into this room, it's this brand new thing. It's a beach. It is you're in the middle of a war. You're in the middle of you're in space. You're doing all these different things, so that anything you want to create in your virtual reality space, you can do that. And that's essentially what I wanted to create here. I wanted to do something that's kind of like a spa, almost like a relaxation area. I have the diffusers. I have a waterfall here. This is pretty high. I wanted to kind of just do almost like a waterfall. I have the glowstone, but if you look closely, I kind of integrated some starry sky squares as well, just to break up a little bit of the monotony. And so we have the kind of the hot springs kind of space here, and then with some pink grass. Armorage and Sarah Ledge live here. I don't remember why I moved them up here, but they live here now. For the next holosuite, we have Jirachi's home, kind of a spacey reading nook. Of course, like the couches, we have some reading, we have some cookies and everything. One of the cool things that I liked a lot was I didn't realize you could do this, but the planets and then connecting them to electricity, they would spin on their own. So this was really cool find that I had no idea that you could do. And so let me go ahead and go up these stairs here. And this is the telescopes from the Jirachi event, as well as a few lights that I want to kind of just light up the area. And then here is basically Jirachi's kind of the loft. And then we have, I thought the bell for Lugia would be kind of cool here. And then we have the gaming lights. We have a couple of crystals. If there was one item that not one item, I like a lot of items in Pokopia, but I love using these crystals a lot. Like I thought this is just a really cool item to have. That is the second holosuite here. And so let's go ahead and close this. And then we can go ahead and visit the other holosuites. So this is the holosuite, but kind of like a gym area. In here, we have the punching bags. We kind of have the strength rocks. We have, some towels because it's like a gym area. We have a bench. We have a CD player here. And one of the cool things that I thought was interesting was actually having a rope. So this gym is actually multiple floors. The second floor I also have here, it's very similar to, we have like a punching bag. We have some mirrors. We have some, we have some tires here in case you want to work out on the tires. And then of course, some towels. The third floor, we have showers here. You can come up here and take a shower and everything. Close this for privacy. Turn this off to conserve water. And then we have a locker here, and then we come all the way down here. And then this is another floor that can take you downstairs. But first, we're gonna go to the other holosuite. So this is kind of like, remember I mentioned how holosuites are virtual reality. You can kind of just make anything that you want. So this is, I made it to more of like a beachy area here. And this, I added grass, I added some shell lights. This is where all the Tatsugiris and then Venonat for some reason. And so this was to kind of recreate more of like a beach kind of vibe as well. And then you can come down here. And then this is like a kind of a lava area. This is, I use this switch to have the little Magby thing. This is, I think, Arcanine. Yeah, Arcanine, Machamp, Charcadet, and Volcanion live here. Like I said, I really love these crystals. I hope they make another set of crystals. I wish you could paint the crystals as well. So we kind of have this like kind of lava area here for the holosuite. I believe that is everything for the second floor of holosuites. There's another holosuite that I'm going to show you, but that's actually on the third floor. But first, before we go to the third floor, I want to show you what they call like the living quarters. People are living on the spaceship. Each of these are rooms. These are not decorated in the way that I would like. Eventually I'm gonna have, not only I'm gonna redecorate these rooms to like match the kind of things that the Pokemon want here, but I'm gonna want one Pokemon per room, right? So I don't want, basically in Star Trek, you didn't have like people having roommates. You just had one person in one room, but what I wanted to do was move a lot of the Pokemon up here for just building purposes, some things that I just needed them for to build and everything. We can just make a whole roundabout, kind of like a hotel. Each area is basically where you'll have like people living and everything. And here there's an elevator, which I can show you kind of where that goes as well. But yeah, pretty much this is where a lot of the Pokemon live. Eventually I'll relocate them and put them in more appropriate places. A lot of the rooms that are still open, I put these in here just to have. And then here is, as you saw on the other side, this was essentially a mural. In the show, there's like a big kind of mural, like a focal point, and I wanted to kind of create that with this stained glass window. And this is a huge window that goes out. You can overlook and see the other parts of the Cloud Island that I still need to work, that I'm still gonna work on. So let's go ahead and go to the, I believe, the final Holosuite. So this is the third floor. And so this is an interesting kind of Holosuite. What I wanted to think about was like, okay, what if you had a Holosuite? What if you had like a virtual reality kind of Holosuite space? What if you had a space where you move back to like prehistoric times? And so I have most of the dinosaurs living here. I think all of them live here, and then Onyx also lives here. The tough thing with this was that trying to find a habitat that kind of matched this area, and because I didn't want to do anything green, because this area was supposed to be like more of a desert kind of dry area, and with these smooth rocks, this was essentially the only habitat that could really do what I needed to do. So we have a lot of the smooth rock habitats here. We have Bastiodon, we have Onyx here. And then the fun thing is up here is where we have a little more of a colder habitat. So this is where Aerodactyl, Amora, Aerodactyl, and then Aurorus live here. So I have all of these kind of like icicles here and everything. You kind of have like the desert kind of dry area down there, as well as like kind of the cooler area up here. So we go out here. Well, first we have this little area out here where you can kind of sit and eat and kind of do your own thing. Let's go ahead and do the school. One of the builds that I like the most is the school here. In the show, they also had a school that was in the spaceship, basically, because a lot of basically the kids who are up there, they had to learn and everything. So they had a school that's up there. And so here is where I have Gardevoir living. And so this is the first floor of the school. You have some sandboxes. You have the kind of music here. You have kind of like this kind of very colorful area that's inviting you want kids to be. And so we have the slide here. We have the Pokeball lights here, the calendar, the printer, and then we have an elevator that goes to the second floor. So this area is the main classroom. You have a bunch of posters here. You have bookshelves, magazine racks, and this is where Metagross lives. Metagross has the fancy chair. You have basically all the different science stuff. Let's go up here. So this is the idea of like a community garden where you're teaching the kids gardening and a lot of the stuff. So we have berry baskets here. We have an actual garden here. This is actually where Decidueye lives, because Decidueye has the grow ability. So I have the mushrooms here. I have the different trees here as well. A whiteboard essentially for teaching, some roses, and I like the idea of having this kind of natural space inside a spaceship. I thought that was really cool to have in here. And then you go out here, and this is another area of where you can go downstairs. You don't want to have one way of exiting. The other one that I wanted to show is the tailor shop. In the show, they had a tailor who was very like cunning and kind of you never knew where he stood. And I wanted to have like a shop where you can have like fabrics and jewels and armor. You could buy certain things, color these different fabrics to kind of show what fabrics are available. Here's like knitting supplies, and then Sableye is sleeping. I don't want to wake them up. And then we can go upstairs, dressing room. You have here with the mirrors, a dressing room here, some surface lights, and that is the tailor shop. And you can come out here, and this was more of a kind of brunch area I wanted to do. There's actually a transmitter under this rug which I thought was cool, a cool way of hiding things. In the show, one of the biggest kind of plot lines was there were people called the Bajorans. The ship had a space for these race of people to have a temple. And I wanted to do something kind of inspired or similar to that. And this is what I built here. It's very minimal, and I kind of wanted to keep it that way. I think in the show, they really didn't have a lot here because it's a temple. You don't want to have a bunch of stuff happening in a temple because it's you need to show respect. So I actually have Mew living here because I thought it would be interesting to have Mew here. And then upstairs, I have more of a chapel area here where you have the chairs, you can sit down, you have kind of the hanging scrolls, and then you have some book. Alakazam lives here as well as Kadabra lives here. And this is essentially the temple build that I had that was essentially inspired by the show. That's everything on the 3rd floor. And then if you go through here, this is actually an elevator down into the living quarters. I didn't want just one way to get to the school and get to other places. I wanted to make sure there were elevators to get to, so everybody has like a way to kind of get to where they need to get to. So as you can see, for all the people who live here and they have kids who go to school, they could just literally go on this elevator. Actually a straight shot to the school. The next thing that I want to show is the operation center. So this is the operation center. This is the final floor. So in the show, of course, in Spaceship, you always have to have like an operation center. And they had this kind of like big like table with a green circle in the middle. Instead of the tablets, I liked having the laptop. This is a side note. I very much hit my electricity limit. The good thing is the laptops don't use electricity. You have all these different seats for different people. And I liked the cyber flooring because it made it a little more futuristic. And this is the big window where you can look out and see what's happening. This is, so the captain of the show, Captain Cisco, I thought Lucario would be a good person to kind of represent the captain of the ship. In the show, they had the strategy room where you have the windows out here. And it really is nice at night. But this is the area here. Now I can show you the outside. Here is the outside of that operations room. I want to show you the outside of this spaceship. Kind of chunky and clunky, but if there was anything that I would do differently, I would kind of smooth this out. I just need the resources in order to do that. This is where that mural was. And a lot of these little blocky things are essentially they're hiding the transmitters. These are also ways you can get into the spaceship. You open it up, you come here, and then you can basically come down into the spaceship and everything. And then if you want to see the ground floor of the Cloud Island, there's a lot of stuff here that I still need to clean up, revamp this entire thing. There's going to be a lot of new features and items in the Bubbly Basin. Thank you all again for watching. So let me know if you have any questions, any comments. I think I first started this build in mid-April, and so now it is August. Really excited about this, excited about the Bubbly Basin and seeing what we can do. And like I said, thank you all again for taking the time to watch. Have a great rest of your week. Bye.